Today I'm going to talk about coherence and cohesion, or in other words, how to get from ideas to text. Coherence is the logic and progression, cohesion is the internal connection, and towards the end I'm going to talk about degrees of formality or how to adjust to your audience, purpose, and what kind of language you should and shouldn't use. So let's start with coherence. It is the general logic in the text, in a way a reasonable progression from start to finish. And one should keep in mind that one should only take one idea or one topic at a time. It gives the reader an easier time if every paragraph deals only with one idea. In addition to that, we should remember the information principle, which states that all the information should come first and new last. Your reader should be prepared for what is coming by some sort of introduction. Here we can establish the time, place, or circumstance. For example, despite the long-lasting protests, the government decided that, and so on and so on. After the school policy was changed, the problems got even worse. We first set the time or circumstance, and then we state what we want to state. If there is no such a thing to be used, one can always use the existential there. This there is used to introduce new topics. For example, there are several reasons for the decision, and then you name the reasons. There has been a moderate increase in bullying, and then you comment on that. There prepares the reader and postpones the main message slightly further in the sentence. Cohesion is a different thing. It is the internal connection between different parts of the text. By itself, cohesion does not create coherence. Even if your paragraphs are well connected, if there is no message or if the arguments don't make any sense, it is not going to be a good text. But on the other hand, without cohesion, coherence often disappears. Even if you have perfect argument, but it's messy and the paragraphs don't hang together, it will be difficult to read. Cohesion can be grammatical, where we use grammar to lead the reader, or lexical, the so-called cohesive ties, using words and phrases to lead the reader. First up, I'm going to name some features of grammatical cohesion. For example, pronouns and demonstratives, words such as he, them, I, we, those, this, and so on. You can clearly see that the meaning depends on the context. If I say that, you have no idea what I'm talking about unless you see me pointing. And in the text, you cannot see anyone pointing, so the meaning of the pronoun or demonstrative is usually interpreted as the closest word that fits. And by fits, we mean grammatically. If I say we, it needs to be something in plural, several people. If I say he, it cannot be a woman, and so on. So it is essential to make clear what your pronouns refer to. When you proofread your text, you should always ask yourself, what is this that? What does it point to? As an example, here there are two sentences. I was talking to Thomas and Jerry yesterday. He wasn't very happy. From this, we cannot tell whether he is Jerry or Thomas. So when you're proofreading, you should always catch and avoid such things. You should always be clear about what your pronoun refers to. Another way how to bind things together are articles. You surely know that definite article introduces something mentioned before, while an indefinite article signals that a topic is new. But when you are writing a text, this can be used creatively. For example, John bought a new car. A car is parking outside. Here it's clear that that must be a different car, because if we were talking about John's car, you would have to say the car is parking outside. That would mean the same car as before. Further, we can talk about tense consistency. Try to use only one tense throughout the text, that is either past or present, unless you want to show jumps in time. If you are retelling a story, it might be your purpose to show jumps in time, but otherwise you should stick either to the past or the present. And if you want to express something that happened in the past in a text that's written in present, you use present perfect. If you want to express that something happened before something else in the past, past in the past, you use past perfect. If you want to talk about the future in a text that's in the past, you use past modal or was, were, going to. And the last feature of grammatical cohesion is parallelism, which basically means that if you have coordinated units or a list of things, they should be of the same type. It then helps to balance the comparison or the contrast. An example here, I like to eat rich desserts, playing fast card games, and riddles. This is grammatically correct, but it sounds odd. One starts thinking about how do we play riddles and so on. It's much better to make the list look the same. To eat rich desserts, to play fast card games, to solve riddles. You can of course choose a different format. I like eating, playing, and solving, or just use noun phrases or nouns, rich desserts, fast card games, and riddles. But don't combine the different versions because it's very distracting for a reader. Now when we look at cohesive ties, these are words that help the reader to follow your text. You can use repetitions, that is to repeat the exact same word or phrase to strengthen an argument or to connect another viewpoint to the same argument. You can use them in one paragraph to give more strength or emotion to the text, or you can spread them out in different paragraphs when you're just adding more arguments to the same thing. You can use synonyms, which are words with similar meaning, and this is to avoid repetitions. If you do not want to repeat the same word, you can use synonyms to add diversity. And here you can find these online. They're also in the integrated thesaurus in Word. So here I try to find synonyms for the word problem. You can also use antonyms, which are the words with opposite meaning, and these create contrast. Here again I use the same thesaurus for the word doubt and try to find antonyms. The thesaurus I used is online, and if you are writing a paper at home, it might be a good idea. Otherwise, good dictionaries also offer a list of synonyms. And the most known cohesive ties, of course, are conjunctions and prepositions. They connect different words, phrases, and sentences to make the text hang together. And here we can we can use the conjunctions of time, contrast, addition, alternative, specification, cause and effect, order, and so on. The list is very long, and it might be good to use a good dictionary in the beginning until you get used to these conjunctions and prepositions. Now I will just say a couple more things about degrees of formality. First of all, you should always consider your audience. What is your relationship to your reader? Is it your teacher? Are your classmates listening to a speech? Are you talking to an exam committee on an oral exam? And so on. And together with this, you should consider the level of professionalism. That is your reader a professional in the field? Do they know a lot about the topic? Or are you talking to public? Are you writing for a newspaper? And so on. And depending on this, you need to choose your vocabulary and perhaps choose the level of details you will go into. You should also consider your purpose. Are you asking for something? Are you arguing a case? And so on. And consider your medium. Will it be read from paper or screen, or will it be spoken? Are you writing a speech? You have probably been told that you should not use contractions, and it's still true because they are ambiguous. His can mean both he is and he has. He'd would mean he had or he would. And when you're writing an essay or an article, you want to be as clear as possible, so don't use contractions. And also try to avoid personal or emotional language. I feel, I think, I know, and so on. There might be texts where the task is to write a personal text or to state your personal opinion, but unless you are asked to do so, try to avoid personal and emotional language. And please try to avoid addressing the reader. You should not write "you see" or "let me tell you." These phrases are suitable for a speech, but not for a written text. And if possible, avoid general vocabulary such as stuff, things. Again, it's suitable for speech, but it's not very good to be this imprecise in an essay. And now we come to the more detailed level of language, the choice of register. All these 4 sentences mean basically the same, but they get more formal as we go downwards. I guess that, I think that, it seems that, it is assumed that. The first 2 are suitable for a speech, the second 2 are much better for an essay. And again, it depends on the task. If the task is to write an argumentative text, you should not be guessing or thinking too much in the text. But if you are supposed to state your own opinion, it's completely okay to state that I think that, and so on and so on. You should try to vary the type, length, and connection of sentences. That goes together with the cohesive ties. In addition to and, but, and or, you could try to use some more formal words such as additionally, however, and so on. And together with that comes that you should also try to use some subordinated clauses such as while, because, connected with while, because, then, that, since, and so on, and not only coordinated clauses and or but. One can also experiment a little with active and passive voice. Active voice states who the person doing the action was, while passive doesn't. The school was built. The actor of the sentence is hidden, and that can be your goal, to not talk about your personal contribution, but only about the facts. And last but not least, do not use idioms, neither translated ones nor English ones. Here are some examples from real essays written by real students. I think the conflict is whether he should take the blade from his mouth and speak to his father. If you can speak Norwegian, then you can easily recognize the blade from his mouth as a Norwegian idiom, which is just translated and not even correctly. Jenny is a stubborn person with bones in her nose. Again, a Norwegian idiom that doesn't work in English. The last example has an English idiom. I think people's clothing choices are a perfect way to see someone's true colors. This is an English idiom, but it is not used correctly. To see someone's true colors is to discover someone's true character, and it's usually not very positive. You should also be careful with phrasal verbs. They are less formal, and meaning can be different than what you think. The example here is the main character just screwed his girlfriend up. Screw up means to ruin or destroy someone or something. And of course, it is possible to destroy a person, but what was meant here was screw over, to give someone a very bad time, to treat someone not well.